Hydraulic devices create a tremendous mechanical advantage and are also very portable, making them very useful in the construction business. In our lab, while we don't have hydraulic devices, we're going to use pneumatic devices which work with the same principle. We're going to discover why they're so useful in those tools. Here's what you need. You're going to need the hydraulic kit, which involves a bunch of syringes. We have some from 3 milliliters all the way up to 20 milliliters. And it also includes a jack, which is really just a 50 milliliter syringe, and it raises the stand. We're just going to need a ruler to measure the height that we get out of these things. And we need a load, so we're going to use some of our textbooks and try to lift those. Here's how you do it. The kit comes with 4 different syringes of different volumes and the jack, as well as the interconnecting hoses and valves and switches. And then you're also going to need a ruler to measure the height that we can get out of the stand. And the books that we talked about earlier, they'll go on top of here. Here's how you do it. The system comes with 2 hoses, one for the input, which has this T shape on it, and the other hose is the exit hose with a little valve on it. So what we do is to work this system, the system has 2 hoses, an input hose and an output hose. The input hose is where we pump the air into the jack to make the jack rise. The exit hose has a valve to release the air to lower the jack. And each system has its own set of tools. The input system has a connector, a T-fitting, and 2 check valves. The exit has a switch. I'll show you how each one works now. Okay. The input hose has this connector which the syringe will tie onto. You just slip it on here and slowly twist it till it gets snug, but don't over tighten it, you'll strip the threads. That air, as you pump the syringe up and down, you'll suck air in through the open end. It'll go through this check valve here, but it can't go back the other way. As you pump air down now, it'll pump past this check valve towards the jack. So the air cannot back through this check valve, or as you're pushing down the valve, can't go back past this check valve. So as you're pumping, air goes into the jack. Now, if the exit hose with the switch is open, this is open now, the air is going to come back out and the jack will not rise. So before you do anything, you have to close the valve by turning it 90 degrees. It kind of acts as a blocker for the air to leave. Each time you're done doing a test with the jack, when you're done, you'll just move the switch in line, the air pops back out, the jack will come down as you press it down. And you can close it up again so you can pump air back into the jack. The first step is to zero out the jack stand. Now please don't just press on top of this to try to push the air out, because as you can see, you press a little bit on it, it'll spring back because there's air pressure being built up in there. If you press too hard, you may damage one of the components in the system. So before you press down on this to zero it out, open the valve. Again, say open it. You get this handle in line with the hose, allows the air to go through. If I press down, the air comes out the exit hose all the way down. And now I'll close it back up. And now ready to get the 0 readings. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look at the seal. There's a black rubber seal at the bottom. It's a couple layers. The upper layer is at about, looks like about 13 milliliters. That'll be our 0 on this jack. Each jack might be off by a little bit. Enter that into box 1A of your table. And then we need to get the 0 height. So we're going to get a ruler, the 0 at the bottom. I like to measure this nice clean edge at the bottom of the tabletop. That'll be my 0 reading. So as we measure height going forward, we'll use the reference from there. So those are now our 0 readings. This one's about 17 milliliters. That goes into box 1B. Okay, now we're ready to begin. First step of this experiment. You're going to start with the 3 milliliter syringe, and if you look at that, you can see the 3 there. So when we want to put air into this system, you pull back so that the last seal off to your left there goes right to the 3 milliliter mark. You don't pull too far out because then you'll get more air than just 3 milliliters or whatever the numbers on that particular syringe. Now to install it again, I showed you earlier, you're going to get that T fitting and slip it on there. It takes about a full turn, not quite even full turn. Just get snug, they'll be airtight. And now we're all set to start. Now we're going to get a zero reading for each of these different syringes. I'm going to pump in 5 pumps of each syringe and then multiply how much air we're putting in and see if it matches up on the actual jack. So if I do 5 of the 3 milliliter pumps, I should have 15 milliliters of air inside of this jack. Now, of course, it won't be that. And that's part of the questioning, is to figure out where that air goes. So here we go, I'm gonna put 5 pumps in. You'll see this rise a little bit. So I'm putting in 15 milliliters of air with 5 pumps. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you did see it rise a little bit. Now, I don't want to push on this too much because I don't want to put too much pressure and damage something, but it is now higher than it was. You'll take that reading and put that in that same table. So you have the 0 reading and you have the 5 pumps. And we'll do that for all different syringes. Now, of course, this one's 3 milliliters. The other one may be 6, so 5 times 6 would be 30 milliliters. So you should see this go up further and further with bigger syringes. For part 2, we're going to get 3 textbooks, put them on top of the jack, and balance them out the best that you can. Now, it did go down a little bit, so the pressure is now is being dispersed throughout the system. Some of the hoses are expanding, so some of that air has other places to go. Plus, air does compress. Hydraulic systems won't allow that because the liquids don't compress. Now, I'm going to slowly let the air out of this system, and you'll see the books drop a little bit. You heard a little there. Close it back up again. And now, what we have to do now is pump the syringe enough times to get a 4 centimeter rise of the books. And it's going to take quite a while to do it with this one. Go slow, don't get too much heat build up from all the friction. Pump it up enough times to get 4 centimeter rise. Then you're going to slowly release the air, put on the next size syringe, and pump that one to get a 4 centimeter rise. Counting the pumps. Also, take note of how difficult it is, or easy it is, to do the pumping to raise the books, and see if you notice the difference between the different size syringes for the effort that you're putting into this. Because again, there's a mechanical advantage here as well as we saw in other labs. After you do all that, answer the questions, hand in the lab.